Hello, welcome to a new series on the channel called Movie Power Rankings. Every month I'm going to make a new episode of the series, pretty much just talking about how I rank movies on a month-to-month basis. So after March, I have a list of 24 movies. After April, I'll have a list closer to 40 movies. But yeah, so right now I'm going to talk about the 24 I've seen, and why I have them placed where they're placed, what I like about them, what I don't like about them. And then after April, I'm going to do the same thing, but then I'm also going to talk about the movement I have, why I have certain movies going down, why I have certain ones going up. And yeah, we're going to talk about it. It's going to be a great time, and I am very excited to be starting this series. So in last, at number 24 is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Oh my god, this movie was horrendous. I literally think it was the worst movie I'd ever seen in my entire life. I'd only rated one movie before half a star, and that was He's All That. I would rather watch that again than watch Blood and Honey. It wasn't scary, it wasn't funny, it was just bad. It wasn't so bad it was good, like I was expecting it to be, because I was really going into this and I was like, oh, I think it's just gonna be one of those so bad it's good movies. It just sucked. Next up is Quantumania. Quantumania is probably a better movie than I give it credit for, but I think because of how disappointed I am with Marvel right now, and just because of how I feel when it comes to Marvel and how they've been such a letdown. And then Quantumania came out and it was supposed to be this big thing, and really it was mediocre aside from Jonathan Majors. I'm not happy with it. Not a lot of people are happy with it. I gave it a 5 out of 10. And that's that. Much better than Blood and Honey, though. Oh my god, every single movie here is so much better than Blood and Honey. Like, if this was like a chart, Blood and Honey would be here and everything else would be like off camera above it. At 22, we have When You Finish Saving the World. I saw a review about this movie which really sums it up perfectly. Jesse Eisenberg is not on screen at all, and yet you get too much Jesse Eisenberg. Every character talks like Jesse Eisenberg. Just imagine if Eisenberg Zuckerberg wrote and directed a movie. Just imagine like the way that his mind worked, how he spoke, and he just put that into all of his characters. That is what this movie is, and it's just too much. It's too much. It's nice when you have one character like that, but to have everyone like that, to have the story like that, way too much. That's why it's so low. At number 21 is 65 million years ago. It's just not that exciting. Like they're just kind of walking around and doing their thing, and I don't really buy this relationship that Adam Driver and the girl are having because they don't even speak the same language. And overall, I just didn't find it too entertaining. There were a couple of moments where I was a little scared, but mostly wasn't really scared. The action was okay. Really, the best part of this entire movie was Adam Driver's gun. His gun, just like the sound of it, that was great. I loved that. I ate that up. Aside from that, though, this really wasn't that good of a movie. Magic Mike's Last Dance. This movie just disappointed me. The first two Magic Mikes were so fun, and it was really bro-y. It was like bros, and I think you got that sense that it was about making the show for the women, right? Because these shows were meant for women, and now suddenly you have an entire movie dedicated to that idea, which I think had already been pushed forward a bit in the first two movies. And add on the fact that, like, this character for Tatum doesn't really have any friends. Like, he has his friends like that show up on the Zoom at one point, but I think the magic of the Magic Mikes came from the bonds, and you don't have that here. Instead, you have a really shitty romance. But the dancing sequences at the end really made up for all of that. I think those at the end were probably the best dancing that the entire franchise has seen, in my opinion, especially this one part where there's rain falling and Tatum and this other girl are just like dancing with that. That was incredible. That right there was kind of peak cinema, but it wasn't earned. Sick is next. Sick, I didn't like any of the characters. right? Let's just put that out there. But I was into the horror aspect. I thought it was well shot. I thought it was, just a well put together, low budget horror movie that was about COVID, but it didn't feel like it was like completely shoving COVID in my face. Like I thought that there was more to it than just COVID. But then the twist came, and just like as the movie goes on and on and on, you kind of realize it's all about COVID. Everything is COVID. And because everything is COVID, you just kind of get tired of it. I just want to be done with the pandemic, and this movie just wanted to shove it down my throat again. I'm not into that. Cocaine Bear, it tried to be funny, but mostly it wasn't. There were a couple of jokes that really landed for me, but aside from that, it wasn't funny whatsoever, and it was just so jokey where if you didn't like the humor, then you were kind of screwed with watching this movie. But I did like the performances from some people, and that helped make up for it for me. I also really liked the bear and all the stuff that they were doing with the bear. Aside from that, though, didn't really like Cocaine Bear. Boston Strangler, it was led by some good performances from Keira Knightley and Carrie Coon, but aside from that, it was just mostly kind of boring. Sword Art Online Scherzo was fun. I mean, the animation was fun. I grew up kind of a Sword Art Online fan. I watched it and all of that. And I actually rewatched it going into this. It was a good time. It definitely wasn't a bad time by any means. I just think I've kind of grown out of it a little bit, the whole SAO craze. And I'm glad that in this, I think Asuna felt a little less like a damsel. It's fine. It's a fine movie, but that's exactly what it is. It's fine. The Girl Who Escaped had an incredible performance from Katie Douglas. That was the highlight. Katie Douglas had an incredible performance, and it was very terrifying what happens. What happened. Just in the sense that, that actually happened. But I don't think that the other performances in this movie are that good. I don't think that this movie was that well made. But really, just Katie Douglas and her performance and what happens in this movie is enough to put it above all the other movies. Plane was fun. It was a fun time. The action there wasn't that much of it, actually. There wasn't as much action as I would have liked, but it was good when it was there. Especially there was this one take action scene around the middle. That was great. The action did not get back to that level, in my opinion, after that, but it was fine. It's a good Gerard Butler action movie, and that's more than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be bad or horrible even. So for it to be fine and good job. And 80 for Brady was just a funny, fun time. And just thinking back, you don't think bad things about 80 for Brady in hindsight. You just kind of are like, oh, I saw 80 for Brady. It was fun. I had a fun time watching 80 for Brady. But that's kind of all you think. Operation Fortune was another fun action movie, and that was kind of about it. There was some fun dialogue between all the main characters. Hugh Grant was amazing, and, the set pieces were pretty entertaining. It was nothing mind-blowing, but it was just an entertaining movie with good dialogue, and, you didn't have to think too much. Sharper is Apple TV's A24 original movie that came out in February. I had a chance to give it a watch, and it was fine. This is just another fine movie. But with that being said, I did really like the cinematography and the coloring here. I thought that the characters were entertaining, and the twists are always fun. And the whole thing with Sharper is that there are just twists throughout the entire thing. And they get a little crazier and crazier and crazier until the point where they become unrealistic. But up until the point where they get so unrealistic where you're taken out of the movie, it's a fun time. Megan is an icon. That is the big point here. Megan is so good because Megan herself has become an icon in a sense, and she will hopefully be established in horror in the future. Obviously I don't think she's going to be really established right now just because her movie came out in January, but as time goes on and more Megan movies come out, I do hope that she's our next Chucky. or like our next slasher horror person. I hope that's Megan. And I overall just had a really fun time at Megan. It was campy. Missing is really high on here, but I don't have a lot to say about it. It's a very well edited, actually, movie that's just really suspenseful. It's a big mystery that just keeps unraveling and unraveling and unraveling, and you're really into it. The start of it isn't great, but once you're about 30 minutes through Missing, it just kind of digs its claws into you, and you're really just enveloped into the story. Knock at the Cabin was really just based in the acting. It was all about their performances that each of them were giving. I think Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge as the leading men here were fantastic. And I think that the way that they represented homosexuality here between that couple was very well done. And Dave Bautista supporting probably gives the best performance I've ever seen him give in a movie before. He's getting so much better as an actor, and here, in Knock at the Cabin, he really shines. The ending, too, really touched me. This movie it touched me, and I think I liked it more than the average person. But I'm okay with that, because as a bisexual person, I feel a little connected to this, and I felt very represented. I didn't realize you could make Acquiring Tetris a spy thriller, but they did it, and that alone needs to be achieved. I also really liked how they used Tetris music throughout. I liked how they pixelated things at certain points. This movie really, it tries. It takes that Tetris theme and it really embraces it. I like what they did here. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. God, this movie was funny. Everyone was just having fun while making it. VFX weren't great, but they were fine. They were good enough. Gave me a good time. I really liked Chris Pine here. Hugh Grant again really delivers. Michelle Rodriguez, she was good. I really like whoever was playing the witch, and just the rest of the ensemble. They really all just had this chemistry that I really appreciated, and they worked really well together. It was a good movie. This was really a good movie. Creed 3 is next, and here's the thing with Creed 3. The fights here are the best in the entire franchise. These might be the best boxing fights I have ever seen in a movie. Actually, yeah, these are the best boxing fights I've ever seen in the movie. They are incredibly well shot. Just the way the camera moves, the way that they fight, even though it's not that realistic to actual boxing, I don't care because it was just so fun. The ring entrances were good, performances were good. Jonathan Majors, let me just quickly say, I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding Majors right now. I'm personally going to be in the boat of just sort of innocent until proven guilty. I'm going to credit him for his performances, but, I'm not suddenly going to say, if Jonathan Majors did something bad, I don't care. Yeah, no. If he did something bad, literally any sort of talking about him I will cut off. But until anything's proven, I do want to talk about him because he gives such a good performance in this movie. Really, every single time he was on the screen, he steals the scene, and he was just menacing. I think he might have been the most menacing person that Michael B. Jordan's Adonis has fought so far in the entire franchise. I just see that guy, I'm like, this guy's a monster. Drago was huge. Drago was big. So that was menacing, but just Majors was just so buff and swole and, scary. It was scary. Scream 6 was probably the best Scream movie since the original. In my opinion, it is. I think a lot of other people have also said that, but I know not everybody thinks that way. But in my opinion, this was it was so well made. The shots, the editing, You know, the performances. I did like the killer reveal at the end. I liked the little cameos. And I had such a good time with this movie. There were a couple of performances that were kind of shit. But like the main performances were all great. And that's what I needed. Also, it was gory. And if you would like to see more, I have a review of it. So go check that out. So I can see that my tastes strongly differ from most people on this next movie, Infinity Pool. You know, most people who I've seen talked about it really didn't like it. They thought it was too weird. I think the opposite. I loved the weirdness in Infinity Pool. I really did. I think that Skarsgård and Mia Goth give incredible performances. They might end up being some of my favorite performances of the year. And just like the weird trip sequences, I was eating all of that up. Really just everything weird about this movie I thought was just so entertaining. You know, I just thought it was entertaining and good filmmaking. You know, it's not the best movie of the year, but it was fun. It was entertaining, and I like a little weird. Maybe I'm weird for being like that, but that's just my taste. These next two movies might be in my top 10 of the year by the end of the year. We'll see. But for now, this is 1 and 2. 2 is John Wick 4. John Wick 4 is a beautiful, thrilling conclusion to the franchise. You know, the performances were great. Keanu Reeves barely says anything, and I was fine with it because he was killing it in the action sequences. Donnie Yen is probably the best person that John Wick has had to fight in this entire franchise. You know, his character is just so fun, and he has some hilarious lines, but then he also has some badass action moments that are some of the best in the movie. You know, and really, that third act, the stunt work, the action, is just better than anything I've ever really seen in an action movie before. And last but not least, number 1 is Rye Lane. I think that this might be my favorite rom-com of the 21st century so far. I'm not joking when I say that. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. To me, Rye Lane was that good. It's colorful. It's just so vibrant, and it's full of life, and the performances and just everything about it, to me, was great. I loved the wide shots. I just thought that they were really kind of fun and interesting. And if you would like to hear more about how I feel with Rye Lane, go and check out the review right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next movie review.